Work the overnight before holiday starts? Sure thing. Disclaimer, not my story, but a co-worker's. We worked at a fast food chain together that stayed open 24 hours. If you were unlucky enough to get an overpass, you start at 11 PM and finish at 8 AM. If you are unlucky enough to get the overpasses, you're almost guaranteed to be unlucky enough to work one before your holiday, meaning you technically work 8 hours on your first day of holiday. My friend had requested their holiday in advance and stated on the request they had a plane flight that very day, so could not do an overnight shift the night before. The scheduling manager didn't care, so scheduled them on an overnight anyway. Friend was angry, asked them again to change it and they refused. Friend then clarified their holiday began on that day, to which the manager said yes. Friend then showed up for his overnight, completed 1 hour, and clocked off at exactly midnight. When asked why they were walking off their shift, he informed the manager that today was officially his holiday, so he didn't have to work, left the store, and went on vacation as planned. Surprisingly, they didn't argue with him on it, though they weren't pleased. They tried to look at issuing a warning, but had to settle with a stern "please tell us next time, and we'll sort out the problem" when he got back. I'm pleased to say they are a little more cautious about giving people an overnight before their holiday time though. Don't tell people you're leaving. Okay, I won't. About 10 years ago, during my first full-time job out of college, I had a boss who decided she hated me. I'm not completely sure why, but she would go out of her way to make my life miserable. Demoted me to an overpass shift, but wouldn't give me a reason. Changed my shift around on a whim without notice. Once changed my schedule for the next day after I had left without telling me, then wrote me up when I didn't show up on time. Stuff like that. She was a monster. So I was looking for another job. Well, I found one, and I went in to give her my 2 weeks notice. This happened to be in the middle of mass exodus for the company, as I was the 5th person to quit over the course of about 3 to 4 weeks. Morale was very low, and whenever anyone quit she would buy pizza for everyone instead of addressing why the place was so miserable and people were leaving. After I gave my 2 weeks, she said don't tell anyone you're leaving. So I said okay, and walked out of her office, and announced to all my co-workers, hey, guess what everyone? You're all getting pizza. And they instantly knew what had happened. She was very unhappy, and I felt great. I served out the rest of my 2 weeks and she never spoke to me again. I have to meet with the area manager to explain why I missed a target. Sure thing. To set the scene, I used to work for a phone network in the UK in the late noughties as a shop salesman. The company had a problem with declining sales as they thought themselves better than others, and people would pay the privilege of being with them. Well, the public didn't, and it showed. Of course, head office couldn't comprehend this, and along with a string of draconian measures they insisted that if you missed any one of your 21 key targets each month, you had to travel to wherever your area manager was and explain in person why you failed and how you will correct this for next month. And if you didn't, they started disciplinary proceedings. I and a lot of other staff realized the colossal mistake they made in the wording. First off, we could choose when to travel to them, and the company had to by law pay for it. They even said they would pay travel and other expenses in the announcement, and linked to the government website stating it. Cue the maliciousness. I had actually taken a new role in a different industry, and was on my 3-month notice. And this new policy came into effect in the first of the 3 months. And I missed one of my targets for amount of accessories sold by 2%. So I got the summons to see the area manager. I had been informed that there was a meeting of area managers to be held in Inverness, the far north of Scotland, in 2 weeks, so scheduled my meeting with him accordingly. Now I lived and worked near the other end of the country, in England. So I used the company system to book my travel, and due to the journey times, 9 hours to get there, I had to book a hotel for 2 nights. I also opted to pay the optional £50 to upgrade all my bookings first class rail ticket, and a 4-star hotel instead of a welcome break or other budget option. So on the Monday I traveled up, stayed overnight. Tuesday afternoon held my 15-minute meeting, which went like this. Area manager: so why are you here? Myself: I missed my target for sales of accessories by 2%. Area manager: how do you plan to correct this so we don't have to start a formal disciplinary? Myself: I don't. Area manager: I beg your pardon? Myself: I have no intention of making a huge effort to sell £4 more stuff. I officially leave the company in 3 weeks time. Area manager, turning red with anger: what the hell are you doing here then? Why have you even bothered? Myself: well, you see, I need a good reference, so I'm following all the rules. I'll end it here, but you get the image. I also showed him how much they paid to send me up there. Train tickets, first class both way, close to £800, and was hotel around £400 for 2 nights. Remember, I used the optional upgrade system and paid £50 in total for the upgrades on the system. So they spent close to £1,150 to send me most of the way up the country to tell the manager I was leaving. Oh, and they also paid me for 3 full days work to attend this meeting, again as they said it was on company time, so we got paid. Due to then location, I would need to travel up Monday, attend the meeting on Tuesday afternoon, his only free slot, and then get the train Wednesday back home. I also know from speaking to other friends I worked with that they also did similar tricks, and it basically cost them tens of thousands of pounds to send staff here, there, and everywhere to these meetings. It also caused a huge turnover in staff who had just had enough with all the garbage. I heard around 3 months after I left they stopped doing this as the cost was astronomical, plus the amount of staff downtime was also astronomical. The company has slowly learned their lesson, mainly through replacing most of the top brass with people who has a clear idea of what they are doing. But yeah, that was the best trip I ever had to Scotland. Edit: to counter one person's comment of it's being a dock move. The area manager only the week before our meeting was interviewing for my replacement with my store manager. The area manager and store managers had to approve it. I also was not the only member of staff doing this. Also, thanks for the likes and awards. Addition: edit: I confused Aberdeen with Inverness. Oops, sorry folks, but they are on the same railway line in Scotland. Also made some corrections. Take away our trampoline. Here's every single safety violation I've found. So we live in a communal block of flats by the council. We are lucky to be surrounded by a fair chunk of grass and enclosed off from any roads. At the semi-beginning of lockdown we brought a second-hand trampoline off of Facebook as our kid has some health issues that I won't go into, and we were worried about his progress. So he has it for about a month before we get slapped with a notice from the council saying we have 2 weeks to remove it for safety violations. So I ring up the council lady and say about his condition and how this is great for his mental health etc. She doesn't care in the slightest, keeps giving the robot response of we can't have it as it's a safety hazard etc etc. We didn't know when we got it that we weren't allowed it, but we hid it in such a way between big bushes and trees that you wouldn't know it was there unless you went looking for it. So this lady says it was reported by a neighbor and that's why they know about it. There was no way of getting around it. We had to get rid of it. So I sent her a very long list of safety hazards that I'd found from other people's garden furniture, to loose bricks in paths, loose handrails, no fire safety, trees falling down in storms and owners with aggressive dogs etc. Must have been 50 odd hazards. She had to reply to every single one. Also, I managed to sell the trampoline for more than I paid for it. Downside: they stole one of the bins. Edit: we have a communal garden. We were told that it was in the tenancy agreement that we weren't allowed to keep any play equipment or furniture outside as it's a safety hazard. In which I replied that there was lots of things outside Their stuff was given notices but not taken. And it is all unused camping chairs and stuff like that which gets left on the main path and tripped over. It's all very much still there. The dog comment was more a child can't run in the grassy area because there are a lot of dogs that chase him relentlessly. Edit 2. For clarification, we spoke to 95% of our neighbors before we did this. That way we had as many safety concerns on there as possible. Everyone immediately said one specific neighbor ratted out the trampoline, which we assumed they did anyway. None of the neighbors liked them, and the majority of the stuff outside was this, and has been dumped there for months and mostly broken. Most the neighbors said it was unfair, that we had to remove our stuff which helped our kid, and he got to keep his stuff out. That is the reason I mentioned it. You're given a notice to bring the stuff inside your property and have 2 weeks to do it. He never did it because most of it is broken grim anyway. All the stuff is still there. Edit 3. Quite a few people in the comments have brought this up, so I thought I'd address it. I didn't snitch on any of my neighbors. 95% of us wrote this safety hazard list together, and I sent it. The council owned the land and we more or less can't do any maintenance to it ourselves, and we pay alongside our rent for things like this to be fixed. We were all annoyed that they use safety hazard as an excuse for the trampoline, which many of our neighbors' kids used, whilst supervised, whilst we essentially live in rented death traps. So we complied and sent a very long list of other hazards that needed addressing. No neighbors were hurt in this story. Did you like this video? If so, consider subscribing to Reddit Read It. We upload new videos and updates every day. Thank you for watching.